And at some point, Patrick, I'm seeing some comments having to do with the truckers in Canada. If you're interested in chatting about that at all, I would be interested in a couple minutes on that if at some point you're interested.
A couple minutes on what?
The truckers in Canada.
Oh, I have not been following it closely. I've been really heads down at work lately. We have a lot going on at Float. We have rewritten our entire website from the ground up. Like every single line of code when we release this thing is going to be new and different. And not only that, awesome. But we're going to be releasing the new version in the next 3 to 5 months on a new host that is going to be censorship resistant. So we're not going to get our upstream providers taken down. Anyway, it's just been a ton of work. So I've been very detached from reality this past couple months. So I know very little. I guess what I have seen has been cool to see. I love seeing people resist. I wish people weren't begging government for freedom. That's one thing I wish, because you don't get freedom by begging. You get freedom by taking freedom. But look, a lot of people are indoctrinated and they think that they can get freedom by begging. And I think if freedom comes out of this, it's going to be because they escalated with the government to the point where the government starts hurting them, and people see the truckers get hurt by the government, and that causes people's faith in the just authority of their government to drop. And that faith dropping is what actually effectively reduces the power of the government. The government's just authority literally flows from people's false belief in it. And so if you can reduce that belief, even by like taking a note out of Martin Luther King's playbook, right? Where he has the marches up the street, even though he knows that when the black people march in the street, some of them are going to get their asses beat by the racists back in the day. Well, other people seeing peaceful people get attacked changes the hearts and minds of the people watching that stuff happen. So if anything comes of it, it's not going to be because they begged the government and the government heard their cries and said, oh, well, the people demand we change. No, it's going to be because the people watching what happens the government will have a choice. Either we change our policies to appear to remain legitimate in the eyes of the people, or they lose legitimacy.
Yep. Yes, and I haven't been following it closely, but that's kind of what that's one of my frustrations, is that I think many of the people who support this movement are saying these people are fighting for freedom. And in fact, unfortunately, I think they're doing the best they can based on what they know. Until Larkin is able to get 1 million copies of Most Dangerous Superstition passed out to what the corporate media says are 13 people protesting, or what the Canadian truckers say are 10 million. So they're somewhere between there. I don't know what the numbers are. But until all those people get copies of the Most Dangerous Superstition, I think what the truckers are really saying is, hey, government, we recognize that you are there. We recognize that you're in charge. That's cool. Our children will go and die in foreign wars if that's what you tell them to do. You can steal money from us every year. You can steal money from us when we fill our trucks up with gasoline. You can make us get licenses. You can rule us in many, 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 many different ways, and you can take money from us. But we really, really, really don't like this one thing that you want us to do. So we'd like you to stop doing that one thing, which I happen to agree with, but we want you to stop doing that one thing and just get back to oppressing us in all the other ways, but just leave us alone on the masks and the vaccination thing. And I think that's what's really being said, really, truly. And I wish that the truckers had that deeper understanding of, no, not only are we not going to wear masks or get vaccinations, but we're not going to pay your extortion fees, and we're not going to get your licenses. Whoever ends up owning the roads will do whatever's necessary with that owner to be able to drive on them. But I wish there was a deeper understanding. That's something that I keep noticing.
There's been some other interesting comments in our chat that I want to address. A guy named Trump said, if the government mandates the business take such actions, yeah, now you have a gun in the room. Now you have an actual problem. But not with the person. You have a problem with the person pointing the gun, the government agent, right? So, for example, if the government said that all doctors can't perform teeth extractions, all dentists can't perform teeth extractions unless their patients are vaccinated, the government is pointing guns at the dentist. The victim in the situation is the dentist, not you. If the dentist succumbs to those threats against his life and safety and bank account, he is the victim. And if he chooses to defend himself from the government force by refusing to associate with people in his business that aren't vaccinated, for example, you're still not the victim. He's still exerting his just authority to disassociate from you, even though he's got a gun pointed at him to do it. You don't have the right to enslave him just because somebody else is trying to enslave him. Like, the government making him a victim doesn't also justify you making him a victim too. Now you just become an extra aggressor against the dentist. That's a nuanced point that drove some people nuts on Twitter recently, but I think it's worth pointing out from a principled perspective again.
For those of you watching, if you got what Patrick just said, that shit's brilliant. Like, kudos to you. Go get another non-alcoholic or alcoholic glass of wine and toast yourself, because that nuanced stuff, like, that's the geek level philosophy stuff that, man, I love. You and Christian and James and Ryan and Kaysen and all you brilliant people, like, that's the kind of stuff that makes me just go, yeah, I didn't think of that. Amen, brother. So thank you for that, by the way.
Awesome. I'm so glad somebody appreciates it. AnCap Gamer, thank you for the Twitch sub. I turned the Twitch stream back on. I don't have any of the stuff set up anymore because I really am not a fan of Twitch, but I figured we do have some followers over there, so I turned the stream back on to Twitch. So I apologize for not seeing that you subbed. Thank you for your subscription over on Twitch. I appreciate it. There's still a lot of good comments here. I'm still catching up on other things in regards to the trucker thing, I think are good things to talk about is the GoFundMe redirecting the funds, the donated funds. I don't see how that's not fraud. I don't see how there's not going to be a class action against GoFundMe for accepting, was it million? Did it get up to the millions, right? 100,000. It's like hundreds of thousands. 10 million? Oh, really?
I heard the number 10 million. I don't know if that was true or not. But that's what I saw on social media today, so it must have been true.
Well, if there's that kind of big, yeah, right, social media, yeah. No, if there's that kind of money involved, then some lawyer is going to take a class action case to represent those people just to get it 60% of that money. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, no, I don't see how it's not fraud. I mean, maybe it's not fraud if they have it in their terms of service and they probably do, that if they deem it to be a violent cause, that they can redirect the money to charities. And if that's the case, then it's the donor's bad for using that website that's going to do disingenuous shit like that with your donated money. Demand better platforms. They're out there. There are crypto donation platforms where the money goes to where it's supposed to go, whether or not the website doesn't have control over it because it's crypto. Like, you send the money and the crypto appears, where you want it to go, and that's the end of it. These websites do exist. GoFundMe has a long history of problems like that. I would never use GoFundMe for anything that I thought might be politically contentious, because they do that. So people shouldn't have used them to begin with. Relegate GoFundMe to raising money for your birthday party or getting your emergency medical bills or something from your friends and family. This is not for anything protest oriented. I can't say that it's fraud because I'm sure they have some bullshit language in their TOS that you agree to when you use them that allows them to do what they did. I still bet there's going to be a class action. I still bet there will be. And no, and even if it is in their TOS, it's still despicable. Like, that's just shitty.
Yep.
Just on
okay, so I love this. I gotta read it. Restream right. Bot. This is gold. GoFundMe just taught Canada about Bitcoin. LOL. I love it. That is how real lessons are taught. The the market teaches lessons, and that is very well said. I hope that's memed, and yeah, that's awesome.
I'm way behind on comments because there was a lot in there that I was trying to catch up on. There's a lot of good comments today. You guys are kicking ass in the comments. That's awesome.
I like the ones where people compliment me. So
those
like
are the
one
best.
about me being, those are the best. No, that was awesome about Bitcoin. That's cool.
Okay, I'm still catching up on comments before we go on to the next thing because I think there's still more to talk about with the truck stuff. I made a controversial objection on social media that people didn't like to the trucker thing, and it went slightly, it blew up slightly. I said that for the ones that are blocking the roads, I said that's not cool. That's the shit commies do when they want to protest and they want to get people's attention. They think that they can just block the roads and freeze everybody in their lanes because they have some complaint and they're trying to raise awareness by pissing everyone off to get them motivated to help them. It's just retarded. Like, can you imagine?
Okay.
Like, I'm going to convince you to help me by pissing you off in an, just pissing you completely off. Is that going to make you want to help me? Come on.
Okay, so let me ask you this. When you say it's wrong, is it wrong strategically or morally or aesthetically, or in what way is it wrong? I completely agree strategically. It's a bad idea. Hey, y'all love me. I'm going to mess your day up. Like, I get that strategically it's a bad idea, but since nobody owns the roads because it's stolen property, I would say that morally you have the right to do so. It's just bad aesthetically or from a public relations standpoint. I do want to make absolutely sure we get to James Freeman's comment.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to do that for you, so I'll go do that.
Okay,
James
I just want to make sure we don't miss that.
Shepard is so handsome and smart.
Thank you, James.
There you go. Okay, so is it wrong, and how is it wrong? It is wrong in all of the ways you just listed. It is wrong. Oops, wrong button. It is wrong strategically and aesthetically because you're pissing off the people that you want to convince to be on your side. It's dumb. Like the commies like a year and a half ago, and I got into a debate with a commie that did it. They blocked off I-75, which is one of the major arteries in the Dallas-Fort Worth area where everybody commuting to and from downtown Dallas to work is on 75. And they just turned it not just into a parking lot, they turned it into a prison. Because, I mean, this is a highway with, big concrete walls because they've dug the highway down into the ground so that there can be overpasses for the feeder lanes and all that stuff. And so they just blocked that MFR off, and thousands of people instantly imprisoned. Like, they cannot go anywhere. They can't back up and go away. They can't drive forward. They can't get on the shoulder. It's all clogged. They have been abducted effectively in their car. That is aesthetically and strategically fucking stupid.
Yes.
And it is immoral. You do not have the right to imprison me. You do not have the right to imprison me just because you want to make a point on some road. You can exist wherever you want with your property, but you cannot control other people with your property. So that's my position.
I don't know. This could be let's get into this. I like this. This was unexpected. Who owns that roadway that has walls on each side?
It is most likely unowned would probably be the best way to say it.
Okay. So do you have a right to travel at a certain speed without being impeded on unowned property? And if you do, then imprisoned is a good term. If it isn't, then it's going to piss me off. It's wrong aesthetically, it's wrong strategically, but that's a risk you take. Somebody stole a bunch of money and paid people to build a road, and then now you want to go and be on that property?
It's not.
I'm getting geeky and technical.
It doesn't even have to be a road. It could just be you walking through an unowned field, and if I block your way and don't let you pass, I don't have the right to do that. I don't have the right to control where you go on property I don't own. If it was my road, I could shut it down whenever I wanted, but it's not. It's unowned. It's not mine. It's not the people blocking the road's right to control how the road is used, nor how your body and your car is used.
Okay, let me ask you this. If I want to stand in the unknown property like this, and the physical action you want to take is walking along, we're both taking physical actions on unowned property. Who has the higher right, higher claim?
The other analogy that I would summon to back me up in this debate would be homesteading. So Walter Block makes this argument when he talks about, for example, common areas like sky lanes, the lanes where planes fly every day, right? They don't just fly randomly through the air. There are very well-established lanes in the sky, altitudes and GPS courses that they fly. You could easily say that these companies have homesteaded, at least to some sort of easement sense, these sky lanes. And if one of these sky lanes is over a property that you buy, you can't then say that because you bought this square of land that you also purchased the exclusive right to control the sky above the land that's already been in use by other people for decades. I would point you to that same sort of argument for the unowned, easements that are these large highway arteries that people use to commute every day. A plane couldn't start blocking one of those skyways any more than a person can, cross their arms and block
Excellent.
one of these highways. That's what I would say.
That got through to me. That registered. Good. I like that.
All right. I hope so.
When you were saying the really smart, when you were saying the smart intellectual stuff, I was like, no, that's not a good. And then you said, oh yeah, one plane can't just stop and hover there and cause the rest of them to crash into them. They've been flying there for 30 years and kind of claimed the space. Like, okay, that makes sense to me.
Yep. Let me, Axel says they can walk though, right? Well, I mean, you're still controlling their car property. I don't think that resolves it. You don't get to steal their cars by locking them into the road. All right, cool. So that was fun.
I like that. I like unexpected stuff popping up.
Another, just to illustrate why it's both aesthetically and potentially like immoral, is I tell this story about, there was this one point about a year into my daughter's cancer treatment where she had no immune system. Her immune system was zeroed out. And we were on this watch. We called it the fever dance. Anytime she popped a fever of a minimal fever, even a minimal fever, when you don't have an immune system, even a small fever is a potential sign of catastrophe in very short order, on the order of 30 minutes to an hour.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if you experienced some of this with your situation, but we certainly did with my daughter. And so from the time she popped a fever, we had about 30 minutes to get her to the emergency room so they could start an IV antibiotics to keep her from potentially going septic if she had a bacterial infection. And so I remember this one time she popped a fever. This happened a lot. Unfortunately, it's just part of the process of dealing with childhood leukemia. But she popped a fever. We get in the car and we're on the way. And there's this cop that has just decided to block the highway because he was trying to be a public servant or something. And, I go up to the cop and there's no construction. There's no good reason. I think he was just asked to block that entry ramp to the highway or something. And the whole thing was backed up and we're on the clock for the life of my daughter in a very literal sense. And I'm like, hey, can we go by? We have a medical emergency. He's like, nope, sorry. And so like, we had to get out of the car. And my wife ran ahead of the car and asked all the people to kind of get out of the way as I drove backwards through traffic to get out and get to the hospital. All this is to say, it's not like a victimless thing. Like if you block these major forms of transportation, you can effing kill people. You can like very easily, quickly kill people. My daughter's life depended on a 30-minute trip to the hospital. And if you're in the way, woo, I'm going to do what I need to do to get my daughter to the hospital.
I'm going to completely step out of logical, reasonable guy here and say we both had daughters that have had cancer and don't even, illogical, whatever. Don't frick with us at that moment, please, people.
Yeah, you wanna get together with your commie buddies and block the highway because you're, I don't know, pissed off about Black Lives Matter or something. Not today. Not today.
Yeah.
Nuh-uh.
Yep.
And so I'm not even
hell as a result, but yeah.
And also, I think my criticism of the truckers doing that was also overblown because I don't think that's been a rampant thing. I think they let people through, and it might have been just one circumstance where they were actually blocking the whole road. And as I said, hey, if you want to beg for freedom, just do it in a way that doesn't create victims. It's not that hard. Not that hard. That's all I was saying.
Yep, I agree.